An art journal tutorial by Creative Katie, Karen Birchall. This is in response to Try It Tuesday Prompt Stick Challenge number 6. Please take the time to hit the subscribe button. Select the option to be notified. That way you won't miss any other videos. Creative Katie, Karen Birchall here, and I'm just finished Try It Tuesday number 6. Paint or ink medium, it was use coffee or tea stain. So I actually, after attempting to stain lots of things, I ended up taking the coffee granules and adding it to my white gesso and putting my first coat down. Texture, use a doily. I ended up using my doily as a stencil. Jelly print or washi tape for the border. I got this lace border embellishment from Yvonne that was adhesive and it just managed to fit, so I used it. I guess it kind of was washi tape. Vintage theme. I used the saran wrap technique with the gesso and the coffee, and I added squares. I ended up cutting the pictures into squares. And here is my vintage themed page. Roots to remind us where we're from. And I got a picture of both my grandparents on their wedding days. And yeah. So stay tuned to watch how I put together this vintage themed page in response to the Try It Tuesday number 6 challenge. So I'm mixing up my white gesso with instant coffee grounds. I throw some in dry, then I try soaking it up first to make a nice coffee color. And then I'm just painting the gesso, coffee colored gesso, on top of the page. And I have the decision, I just want to get it a little bit darker, so I rub some grounds and crush them up and sprinkle that. This is total trial and error at this point. I'm spraying it with a water bottle, and I get these pages really, really wet. But I want some of the darker and the lighter color to show. So I'm taking a piece of saran wrap and putting it on, making sure I get lots of crinkles and wrinkles and everything. After waiting a couple hours, I pull it off, and there's the beautiful texture that I achieved. So I'm trying to figure out what to do about adding the doily, and I decide that I'm going to use the doily as a stencil. So I'm using my Ceramcoat antique white color, and I'm just using part of the stencil all over the chocolate covered or coffee colored gesso. And I like how some places it's more opaque than others. It's kind of like the whole thing is an antique crocheted tablecloth, the kind your grandmother would have on the table. And I'm giving it a quick dry. Bit of a cleanup. And another dry. So this is adhesive ribbon that my good friend Yvonne Gaybauer had gifted to me. And it just seemed to fit. It is ivory colored or white. Another thing that Yvonne had gifted me that I was considering putting on the page. And I start to adhere the tape. And then I decide, wait, I wanted to incorporate another color here. So I'm going to use my rose colored ceramic coat. It's kind of a dusky old rose. And I'm applying with a makeup sponge on the pieces. My initial plan was to combine the pink with the coffee colored antiqued look. So I'm giving these a good dry. And off camera, I'm just trying it on for size. And I decide to use the backing that's on it. It's kind of a plastic backing, but I put it underneath and it sticks quite nicely, so I get both colors. It takes a bit of doing to get it all lined up evenly, but I'm making my border, my washi tape, homemade washi tape border. Not quite washi tape, but I'm using it to get that effect. And I think the purpose of all the prompt sticks is to use our stash to go back and revisit techniques we may have forgotten about. So this whole time I really didn't know where I was going after this. And then I remembered that I had pictures of my grandparents, both sets of grandparents, on their wedding day. And I printed them off and cut them into squares so I deal with the last prompt. And I cut out the words, a quote actually I had already printed out. And I decide I need to get rid of this stark white on the letters. So I'm playing with my magicals and my Lindy Starburst sprays. Now the pink is the right shade of pink, but it's not antique, so I'm putting some sepia on top, and it gets to that coffee stained old look. A quick dry. Then I'm going with my walnut stained distressed ink pad, and I'm just edging them, making it look more antique-y. Then I decide to do the same to the pictures. But the pictures now look a little too new. So I decide to rub them through the sepia spray just to make them look a little bit more vintage. Give them a dry and figure out the placement for all these. And I get my matte gel. This is Liquitex matte gel. I have tried the golden matte gel, and I like this one much, much more. Just using a credit card to smooth it out. Get rid of any air bubbles or crinkles. Mixing the coffee with the gesso made it permanent. Otherwise it would have lifted if I had just stained on top of the acrylic. Going around with the walnut stain with the blending tool. And trying to pick up some of that texture from the saran wrap technique. And I'm using my Neocolor 2 black, and I'm just going around the words and the pictures just to make them pop. And I activate with a small brush. I should have searched a little harder for my little thinner brush, but it all worked in the end. Putting the Neocolor 2 around the outside edge. Just got to frame that picture. Always these little steps. And there's my page. And I love it. I didn't know where I was going, but through it all, I persevered and followed my artistic muse. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe now. Thank you.